SpaceX may soon become the largest IPO in history. Investors are talking about rockets, satellites, Starlink, reusable launch systems, humanity's future in space. But after reading some of the recent discussions surrounding the IPO, I found myself focused on a completely different question, much simpler question. What exactly are investors buying? Are they buying SpaceX or are they buying Elon Musk? And before anybody gets upset, let me be clear. In no way is this any kind of an attack or disparaging toward Mr. Musk. His accomplishments speak for themselves. Name anybody else who's had a larger impact on technology, transportation, communications, space exploration. So the issue isn't whether Mr. Musk is talented. The issue is dependence. Buried inside discussions about the upcoming IPO is an interesting contradiction. On one hand, SpaceX reportedly describes Mr. Musk as a driving force behind its growth, innovation, and operational success. On the other hand, the company also acknowledges that Mr. Musk will be dividing his time among numerous responsibilities, that he does not devote all of his attention to SpaceX. And that raises a legitimate question for investors. How much of SpaceX's value exists independently of Elon Musk? Imagine for a moment that Mr. Musk simply walked away tomorrow, not because of scandal or controversy or anything dramatic. Suppose he simply decided to focus his attention elsewhere. What would happen? Would SpaceX keep operating successfully? Would investors react calmly to any kind of news? Or would the stock experience significant turbulence? These questions matter because markets don't merely price businesses, markets price expectations. And sometimes those expectations become attached to a person. We've seen it before. A charismatic founder becomes inseparable from the company. Investors start viewing the leader and the business as one and the same. The company's strengths become the founder's strengths, and the company's future becomes the founder's future. And eventually, the distinction disappears, and that can be really powerful. But it can also create risk because no matter how talented an individual may be, every human being has limits. There are only 24 hours in a day, last time I checked, right? And only so much attention, only so much focus. And Elon Musk currently has quite a few demands competing for his attention. Tesla, SpaceX, XAI, Neuralink, the Boring Company, can't forget that one, social media, public appearances, government related activities. He just flew with Trump to Beijing to meet Xi Jinping, and whatever else finds its way onto his calendar. The remarkable thing is that investors notice this. The remarkable thing is that most people seem pretty comfortable with this, and perhaps that's because Mr. Musk has repeatedly achieved things that others thought were impossible. Okay, fair enough, fair play. Past success naturally creates confidence in somebody, but confidence and certainty are two different things. And that brings us back to the IPO. The most interesting question may not be whether SpaceX deserves its valuation. It may be whether investors have accurately measured how much of that valuation depends on one person. In other words, is SpaceX a company with a remarkable founder, or is SpaceX, or is it a remarkable founder that's surrounded by a company? You know, what I mean to say is SpaceX a company with a remarkable person leading it, or is it a remarkable founder surrounded by a company? And there's a difference. The investors may eventually discover how important that difference is. The market has always rewarded vision. It's always rewarded innovation. Strong leadership always gets rewarded. But sometimes the greatest strength in a story can also become its greatest vulnerability. And that's the question I think investors should consider before the IPO. Not whether is Elon Musk brilliant or not, and not whether SpaceX is impressive or not, but whether the two can ever truly be separated, right? What would happen if there was ever a separation? If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share. It really does help the algorithm a lot. And yeah, we could use a little assistance at the moment. Anyway, that's that. Check out Jack Carter Books. There's some good books on there also. Easy, short reads, and very informative. And I will see you good people on the next one.